What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory. My name is Chandler Rome with Tyler Stafford and Josh Reddick. I am still in Seattle, where the Astros lost a game yesterday that they should have won. The last game in Minnesota on this road trip was a game that the Astros should have lost, but won. So at the end of the day, baseball kind of evens out that way. A 3-3 road trip through Minnesota and Seattle. The one yesterday against the Mariners, it's going to sting. You're up 5-0 going into the eighth inning, and you can't hold that lead. There's a lot of outrage, fan consternation about bullpen decisions and who pitched and who didn't pitch. But I'm going to take a little bit different tact with how yesterday went. You know, the Astros yesterday, they drew 7 walks, they had 9 singles and a double, and they scored 6 runs. They were 4 for 13 with runners in scoring position. They left 12 base runners. You got to score more than 6. 6 runs is enough to win a ball game.
The Mariners made 2 errors too.
Yes.
So that's at least 2 more runners.
Yeah. So as we sit today after 12 games, the Astros have the lowest slugging percentage in baseball. They have the lowest OPS in baseball. This is a lineup, Josh, that is not functioning right now. And when that is happening, when you're not hitting and when you're only hitting singles, you put so much pressure on every other part of your club, and it's really hard for every other part of your club to play with such a minuscule margin for error.
Absolutely. Your guys in the lineup that are supposed to be getting the job done and carrying this team haven't done that yet this year. So we've got to start panicking a little bit here. I think, we're getting past second week of the season, rolling into week 3, rolling up. So something's got to give. Spring training's over. You've got enough games under your belt where you should be comfortable. So you just got to find what clicks for you right now. And you're right. When you're not doing your job hitting, your bullpen gets taxed, and your starters feel a little bit more pressure to go out there and carry the ball club, which Hunter Brown did a fantastic job doing yesterday. Gave them every opportunity to win that ball game, as they should have, like you said. So they've got to do something. They've got to figure out something. Switch underwear, switch sliders and shorts, wear them backwards. Do something, guys. We need you.
I could tee you up and say switch the hitting coach, but I'm not going to do that.
Hey, we've gone down that road, and these guys were probably good hitters in their heyday, but they're obviously way past their prime and could never step in the box. So we're just going to leave it at that.
It should be noted, as we talked about before we got on here, the Mariners fired all of their hitting coaches last year. They still can't hit,
and they still stink at the box.
Yeah, they still can't hit, as you saw this weekend. That is a tough lineup to watch for 3 games. I know Randy Arozarena got a hold of a grand slam, but other than that, they were pretty lifeless for 3 days in Seattle. And that's a credit to the Astros pitching. Hayden Wesneski was wonderful in the series opener. Then Framber Valdez and Hunter Brown kind of just did what they did and do what you expect them to do. Tyler, is there a member of this lineup right now that is sticking out to you as, and look, we're not putting this on one person. Like, one person is not the reason that the Astros have the lowest OPS in baseball right now. But is there one person, Tyler, that you're looking at that, like, if he gets it going, then this thing could maybe, start going in a better direction?
Yeah, it's Yordan Alvarez. Y'all heard of him?
Good hitter.
Yeah, normally, if you woke up from a coma this year, you'd be like, who's this giant guy and why did the Astros give him all this money? He's just not hitting. I don't think he's going to hit 190 for the year. But like we said, they're getting guys on base. They're just not driving anybody in, and that's Yordan's job. And it just hasn't happened. And when he's not hitting, you really have to rely on other guys to hit more consistently. And you don't want to have to do that because they're not as good at hitting as Yordan is. But he's just not there yet. I mean, again, granted, it's 12 games. So, things fluctuate. But this team is going to go as far as Yordan takes them, and they need him to hit 310 with 40 home runs this year, and he's not anywhere close to that right now.
I'm gonna look at Christian Walker real quick, and you mentioned they're not driving anyone in. Christian Walker has started in the cleanup spot every game for this team this year. He has taken a team high 27 at bats with runners on base.
Ooh.
He is 3 for 27 with 12 strikeouts with runners on base this season. Look, again, we're not going to, I don't want to put this on one guy. This is an all encompassing, well, aside from Jose Altuve, this is an all encompassing kind of up and down the lineup. Guys need to do more. But Josh, if your cleanup hitter is going to get that many chances with runners on, and look, you're not here asking Christian Walker to hit a homer. You're not hitting it double. Like, put the ball in play. Like, 12 strikeouts and 27 at bats with runners on base. That to me is that's one of the root causes of this, that they can't move runners. They can't. This is a lot of what we saw last year. It's taking them 3, 4, 5 good at bats just to get a run in, and they need some pop. They need Christian Walker to really break out of this and step up.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at 3 for 27, that's a pretty abysmal number right there to look at, especially in the cleanup spot. You're looking at a 9-hole hitter like that. We're looking at a different situation, but I don't know. He does need to put the ball in play. That's the problem with the game today, is everybody's so strikeout homer and extra base hit oriented, and it kind of comes to a fault at times. And there's going to be a time where Christian Walker's probably 10 for his next 15 in it at some point. But I think maybe it might be time for a little drop in the lineup. Maybe get him down to like the 6 hole, get a little bit more relaxed, kind of not so much pressure on there, and kind of switch his perspective up a little bit for a couple of games. Maybe give him a week in the 6 hole and see where that takes him. And then once he heats up, and you throw him right back in that 4 hole to get him back into that good vibe feeling in the batter's box.
Is there something to be said about him pressing after signing a big contract? Do you feel like maybe that can change your approach at the plate when you feel like, oh, now I'm worth this much money, I got to hit differently than what I did before, or I've got to do more than what I was doing?
I think if depending on who you are as the guy, I mean, obviously it's not going to affect everybody, but there could be moments where that does come into play and could add a little bit more weight on his shoulders. But we're told all the time how hard this game already is without your own brain doing damage to yourself, and that's your biggest enemy, is the thing right there between your ears in any baseball situation. So he's got to get back to the way he was of being clear-minded in the batter's box, because like I just said, it's already hard enough. And when you're thinking about all the ways to fail and all the ways that you can mess up, it's just going to make it 20 times harder on you anyway.
Now, granted, he is coming back from an injury, missed a lot of spring training. We're 2 weeks into the season. So, there are still some caveats there. But yeah, it has been oblique to watch. Am I right? High five. Who's with me?
Attaboy. We're a couple of dads here. We get it. I appreciate that. I think, for me as a hitter, I think the spring training missing thing is an excuse that should be thrown out the door. I've done it. I missed spring training, came out better than I thought I was. If he's not feeling any injury, obviously, I think that, the timing should be there already. Like I said, spring training has always and will always be for pitchers. Hitters are usually ready to get out of there after about 2.5, 3 weeks anyway. Get your 30 to 40 at bats, 50 at bats, and you're good. So I think we're at that point to where if he's not hurt, then something's got to give. And if not, then I think that the drop down the lineup is always a good option.
Josh, I don't disagree with you that maybe dropping him from the cleanup spot just to avoid him getting so many at bats with runners on base. I don't disagree that that's probably a prudent move, but I guess my follow-up would be like, who do you replace him with? I mean, Yainer Diaz is 2 for 33 with 10 strikeouts. Like that'd be the guy that, given his track record, that would be the guy that's maybe next up. And Joe Espada couldn't even play him on Sunday, or couldn't even play him a lot this week because of the struggles that he's had. And then you look at, Jeremy Pena, he's elevating the ball more. He's hitting the ball on a line a little bit more, but he's still hitting 186.
He's still striking out.
He's still striking. I get, like, I'm perfectly on board with it, but I don't know who you replace him with, because there's no one in this lineup aside from Altuve that's doing anything that merits moving them up.
Well, you switch a couple of guys that might click more than one fella. You move Jordan to the 4 hole, maybe drop him back a little bit. You obviously keep Altuve where he is. Maybe drop Jordan to 4, Christian to 6, and then you just, heck, if you got to, flip a coin for the dang thing. Altuve, lead off. All right, who are we going from here? Boing. Okay, there.
Mhm.
I never know.
Well, I mean,
It can't hurt you any more
no.
than you're already throwing your A-plus lineup out there, you think?
And I mean, I know there will be fans that say, and they are right, that Jeremy Pena's numbers in the 2-hole are exceptional in his career. And while Isaac Paredes profiles as a great 2-hole hitter with the amount of pitches he sees, just with the patience and the plate appearances he takes, like I do wonder if maybe they explore if they're looking to maybe shake up the lineup. Do you look at maybe Altuve leading off, Pena second, Paredes third? You can go Walker, you can go Alvarez fourth, and then Walker fifth, or maybe Yiner fifth and Walker sixth. Who knows? But I don't get the sense though that they're panicking just yet. I mean, it's 12 games. I think Joe Espada's got a delicate balancing act. And Josh, I want your kind of thoughts on this as someone that has played for different managers and things like you know Joe doesn't know Christian Walker very well. I mean, he had spring training to get to know him, but he doesn't know Christian Walker as well as he knows Pena and Altuve and guys that have been around a while. It's got to be a different sort of balance to manage a guy through a slump that you don't know well, as opposed to what you can do with Altuve. You know how to push Altuve's buttons. You know how to push Pena and Jordan and guys like that. That's got to be a tough spot for Joe to be in, a guy that he has gotten to know Christian Walker through spring training, but they're still relatively unfamiliar with each other. So that even makes it a little bit more of a dilemma for Joe right now.
Yeah, so I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to retouch your lineup theory here. Why not bump Altuve to 3? Paredes leads off, sees pitches in the leadoff spot. Throw Pena 2, Altuve 3, Jordan 4, Christian 5.
From your lips,
Altuve, if both one of those two guys gets on, your best chance to drive him in is Jose Altuve right now. If those two guys are getting on base at probably your best rate in your lineup anyway, outside of Altuve hitting, you put him on in front of the guy that's hitting, and then hopefully he does his job, because if the next two guys are still going to stink, then you move on. But yeah, I think going back to like Espada handling Christian, there's probably a lot of stuff that we probably don't see, on camera, because managers are well known for walking the field every day during batting practice, chatting with the guys. I'm sure I've seen Joe do it. I saw him do it last year a lot of every game that I covered. And that those moments probably go unnoticed, and he might be there. He might be doing his little get to know him that way. Maybe even call him into the office, have a little sit down, and you're like, hey man, like what can I do? Like that's what those managers are really good at, is communicating and keeping that line of communication with their guys open and saying, hey, look, I know you're working with SNID. I know you're working with AC down there to get out of this. Like what can Joe Espada do as your manager to help you get out of this? What do I need to do to help you? Like that might be a conversation that they both need to have. And who knows, they may have already had it at some point, because that's something that you really don't talk about in the media a lot. It's just something that you just keep between you two, and that's something that you can have your outlet. It's so kind of like, your little therapist to have in the clubhouse.
Yeah, it's I mean there is a lot that's going on behind the scenes, obviously. Like, I mean, Joe's kind of not limited in what he can say, but everyone that wants Joe Espada to go in front of a microphone and say, like, this guy needs to hit better. This guy, like, guys, you can't lose a clubhouse 12 games in, and the easiest way to do that is to go throw guys under the bus to the media. I know people get tired of the cliches. They get tired of we got to step up. We have a good offense that'll turn around. But I mean, at some point, that's kind of all they can say at this point. It's up to the players, as we've talked about with the hitting coaches, as we've talked about with everything. It's up to the players in the batter's box to get the job done. And the Astros at this point are not doing that. And that was pretty evident on this road trip. That was evident in Seattle. They've got to get better offensively. They need the offense to, coalesce and evolve to the point where they're not putting so much pressure on a pitching staff that is now down one starting pitcher, which we will talk about right after a message from our friends at Foul Territory.
FT fam, you gotta check out what Harry's brings to the table. And I hope that if you're listening to this, you check out the video version of this conversation at some point, because that razor, Eric Kratz, looks like it stands out for multiple reasons.
I mean, I'll take the cover off. All these blades, each one of them ridiculously sharp, makes for a nice smoothness here and up there.
German engineered blades made in their own factory. They stay sharp longer. Okay, you've got customizable delivery options. Harry stands out for the sharpness, for the pricing, for the variety, and you can get a 5-blade razor, a weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover for just $3 at harrys.com/foul. Get the edge on your shave with Harry's. Normally their trial set's $13 right now. You can get it for just $3 at harrys.com/foul. That's our exclusive FT link, harrys.com/foul, for a $3 trial set.
All right. So
Before we move on, Chandler,
Yeah.
can you pull up the tweet that you had of the Astros OPS stats?
the Astros OPS stats.
Yes. Yeah, or whatever you tweeted out today of after 12 games, what they're slashing.
Hold on just a second. Let me do the let me
Called
do the
X, by the way.
Oh,
it is
excuse me.
X.
I'm
It is
sorry.
X. All right, here we go. After 12 games, the Astros are slashing 208, 293, 291 as a team. The 291 slugging percentage and 584 OPS are both the lowest in baseball.
So, I went to StatHead and did a 12-game span search of the Astros and the worst 12-game stretch of team OPS since the wild card era. So there is another one very similar. Yeah, most of them are 2009, 2010, the dark ages there. But there was another 12-game stretch in April where the team was 4-8. They had a 539 OPS, so even worse than what they're doing now. And that was in 2022, and that team won the World Series. So again, they don't look good right now. There's no excuses for that. However, baseball is a very, very long season, and teams go through weird stretches where they're just bad and there's nothing that can explain it. So, I mean, you never want to be included in a search with, the late 2010 Astros teams, but the 2022 team is right in there with them. Same time frame around April. They hit 185 as a team over that stretch with 93 strikeouts. So again, it's not indicative of the entire season, but that also doesn't mean that it's fun to watch right now.
No, and it stands out because it's the beginning of the season. Like this is this is all the sample size we have to go on. Like,
right. Yeah, if they were 24-14 and then went on this stretch, you wouldn't notice. But it just happens to be the beginning of the year. You lost your two best hitters too, so that's another part of it that you're kind of looking at this and going.
And they won Player of the Week, so it's even more magnified.
Yes, and they're hitting really well elsewhere. But again, it does happen where teams just go through stuff like this. But let's talk about some other weird stuff that's happening with the Astros right now.
Yeah, and also let's remember they're 5-7. Like it's not as if they're not like 1-11.
Yeah, they're not 2-12.
Yeah,
right. They're 5-7, and they're about to play the worst team on paper in the American League West at home.
Astros fans, if you need reminding, just remember the Washington Nationals in 2019.
I would rather not. Thank you.
I mean, you don't have to look at it in depth, but look at what they. All right, 2012 Oakland A's.
Okay,
there you go.
We can do that.
A little softer on the heart.
Yeah, they're 5-7, and the reason they're 5-7 is because they are pitching the crap out of the ball. They can. We yesterday, notwithstanding with the bullpen, this pitching staff has done pretty much what we expected them to do and more. But they will be challenged going forward because Spencer Arrighetti is going to be in a cast for the next 2.5 weeks because on Monday afternoon at T-Mobile Park, Spencer Arrighetti was doing what every pitcher across baseball does when they're not starting. He was in the outfield playing catch, and the Mariners are taking BP at the same time. A Mariners hitter who we still don't know who it was, not that it matters, but a Mariners hitter hit a line drive, and it struck Spencer Arrighetti in the right thumb. He broke his thumb. He will be in a cast for about 2.5 weeks, after which the team will get some follow-up imaging done, and then they'll have a more concrete plan of when he can maybe start to throw. We don't need, obviously it speaks for itself what a loss that is for Spencer, what a loss that is for the Astros rotation, that they're down a guy that they were going to count on. He threw 150 innings for this team last year. They were going to count on him. But Josh, please tell the fans how common, not the injury itself,
No.
but everyone was losing their mind about why would you have a pitcher playing catch while the other team's taking BP. This is a very, very common occurrence across the league that this just so happened to be a complete freak accident.
So this, if you don't understand what's going on here, then you've never been to a Major League Baseball game within, batting when the ballpark opens. If you're 7 o'clock warrior, you need to just stay out of this conversation because these things happen every day in Major League Baseball that teams take batting practice. And, teams take batting practice on every night game, never really take it on day games unless they're struggling. We might see the Astros taking a little daytime BP here soon if we don't figure it out. So, but yeah, this is something that happens every day. The pitchers are usually always out there before the hitters for their team, which means they're usually out there on the field for the team that's hitting in their ballpark. So, and it's really crazy how many guys don't get hit because almost every day you're yelling down the line about 30 times and the pitchers, for some reason, within a 5-foot radius, never get touched by it. It's wild how it never happens. But it's just something that they've done for a long time. So this is a very freak thing that has happened, and this is something that happens every day, guys. So let's not blow this out of proportion because how else are we going to get 15 plus 14 pitchers throwing? They all can't throw in the bullpen over the course of the day just to get loose. They got to get their long toss in. They got to just go through their routine. So maybe Brock Amane's got to be a little quicker. I know that's one of his jobs. So he's got to cover all that ground a little bit better. But very unfortunate, very freak thing, and obviously on the throwing hand makes it a little bit more frustrating.
I volunteer to be the guy that just stands in front of all the pitchers during batting practice with a glove and just running around trying to protect them. So if the Astros need a guy as a personal bodyguard, not to brag, but I recently purchased a new $75 glove from Dick's.
Ooh,
so I'm ready
nice.
to go. I need to break it in anyway. So if the Astros need somebody, I'm willing to do it. Honestly, the craziest part of this story is a Mariners hitter hit a line drive. That's the freak part of this story.
Oh Lordy, I love it. Love it. So I would love to see you at Dyken Park with your $75 Dick's.
Oh, dude,
glove.
I would pee
with
my pants.
with Yordan Alvarez
drive.
in batting practice, hitting 120-mile-an-hour top spin
No
balls at your
chance.
shins.
Yeah, no, thank you. I would be in the hospital within 10 minutes.
We're going to need the stretcher on standby, please.
Josh, obviously, it's well known, Mariano Rivera blew out his Achilles while shagging fly balls in the outfield during
doing his cardio, which is what he'd done for years.
Right. I've heard of guys I've not heard of this specifically where a guy gets hit in the hand. Usually you hear it like a guy gets struck in the head, and thank God that didn't happen here.
Yeah.
But have you ever have you seen this before? Because I've heard of guys getting hit, but I've never heard of it just being in a perfect spot in the pitching hand and this happening.
I've seen it. I've seen guys get, hit. I've never seen somebody get hit in the head from it. You see a couple of on the back, mostly on the shin or lower, because it's always the hard ground balls that kind of snake through. And, but it always just seems to miss them because when they're down the line, that ball is usually doing some movement left or right. So it usually avoids them, but you see them get hit, but I've never seen nothing as crazy as this or something that, where we had to stop batting practice because somebody got hurt so bad. Fortunately, that was one of the things I never got to see. And, for me, it always made me panic in the batter's box when I did it. So if they were down the right field line, I was just making sure everything went to left field because I didn't want to be that guy that had the absolute worst feeling in the world of hitting a guy in the head. Because, as much as it sucks for the guy like Arrighetti breaking a bone, the guy who's hitting the ball. If you're a good guy, at least, if you're a good guy, you feel pretty crappy about it.
No, and I can imagine that whoever hit it on the Mariners probably feels worse than anybody because look, that's a guy trying to get his work in. It's literally both of these situations are two guys trying to be diligent doing their pregame work, with Arrighetti playing catch, with the Mariners hitter taking BP. There's nothing nefarious. This is not some indictment on the Astros organization that they were, negligent in having their pitchers out there. This is just it's a freak accident. Like, not everything needs a person to blame. Not everything needs to be a referendum on like organizational infrastructure. Like, this is just a tough pill for them to swallow. And as they move forward now, Ryan Gusto will slot into the Astros rotation. He will start on Saturday against the Angels. Spencer Arrighetti's scheduled turn was on Friday, but because the Astros had an off day on Thursday, they can put Ronel Blanco to pitch on Friday on regular rest. They will slot Ryan Gusto in on Saturday, and then Hayden Wesneski will pitch on Sunday. Gusto's been good out of the bullpen. He has been the perfect long guy. Exactly what you asked for. He comes in, he throws strikes. He makes guys, I mean, he challenges guys in the zone. He's not walking guys. He's pitched well out of the bullpen as a long man. I'm not sure how much they're going to get out of him. I'd imagine if they can get 60-ish pitches out of him, they'd feel good. But Saturday's going to probably be closer to a bullpen game with Ryan Gusto as kind of a glorified, maybe longer opener. But after that, they're going to have to kind of make some decisions whether they want Gusto to stick around in that rotation, or you look down to the minor leagues, you have Colton Gordon on the 40-man roster. You have AJ Blueball, who's not on the 40, but probably one of their more major league ready pitching prospects. And Lance McCullers kind of looming out there. He'll make his third rehab start for AAA Sugarland on Saturday. They're hoping to get him 3 ups, which is 3 innings and about 55 or 60 pitches. I still think he's got to make at least 2 more starts after that to be ready to join the Astros rotation at the major league level. But Josh, this kind of puts a little more emphasis and kind of magnifies Lance McCullers' return a little bit, because Luis Garcia, we learned on this road trip, he's going to be shut down for about a month and a half. I'd be pretty surprised if you see him pitch meaningful innings this year, just given the trajectory that's on. This puts a lot of pressure on Lance to come back and to be effective. I'm not saying he's got to have a sub 3 ERA, but he's got to come back and be effective and be an effective major league starter for this team.
Yeah, well, I'm going to start off with the Gusto situation. I mean, I think, one, having the off day helps to get him on that start, to get him pushed back and get him to where he needs to be, and hopefully get those 60 pitches, because that's a high ask out of a guy that, when's the last time he probably threw 60 pitches? So hopefully he can make a nice cruise, maybe a little 5 diver, and kind of get out of there with 50 pitches. Who knows? But yeah, when you look at Lance, man, this is something that, becomes a lot tougher for him to come back from. But at the same time, like, you can't rush this process. You cannot rush yourself coming back. You've had so many setbacks. Like, this is something you have to get through the first time, because we're going to need you in a month more than we're going to need you in 2 weeks, or longer than that. We're going to need you possibly, 2 months, with whether it takes Arrighetti is just going to be gone without throwing for at least a month and a half. And then you got to work him back up. So it's something that, going to be a big important step for Lance. So he's got to make sure he's a 100% healthy pitcher when he comes back, because if he comes back and has another setback from trying to rush back, then you're in a panic mode for your starting rotation, and you can't really rely on these young guys to come up like you kind of had to do last year and put them in that rotation. So lightning may not strike twice for the young guys. So it's really important to get Lance back out there and healthy.
I saw Whitley pitch yesterday, right, Chandler?
He did. He pitched yesterday. Caleb Ort pitched a couple of days, I believe, on Tuesday. So they probably need a couple more appearances at Sugarland before they're ready to come back into the bullpen. A bullpen that needs some reinforcements. The one thing about this bullpen that's interesting, they don't have, as it's constructed right now, Brian Abreu throws exceptionally hard. No one else really does in this bullpen. This is a kind of a low velo kind of bullpen, but Caleb Ort can touch 98. Forrest Whitley can touch 99. Like, I think those two are going to bring kind of a more hard throwing dynamic to a bullpen that Dusty Baker will recoil in hearing this, but it is very left-handed. He begged for so long for lefty relievers, and now this team has Bennett Souza, Brian King, Steven Okert, and Josh Hader all in its bullpen. They have 4 lefties in their bullpen. So getting some velocity from the right side, I think, will help this bullpen just varying its looks. And like we just talked about, like, the bullpen's going to become more important because Gusto, like, you can't ask Gusto to go out there and give you 100 pitches in his next start, because that's not healthy for him. Everyone thinks you can just stretch a guy out magically. Like, it's a process to stretch these pitchers out. That's why, as we mentioned earlier, that's why spring training's so long, because the starters have to stretch out. So Gusto he's gonna get his chance, and if he pitches well, you could see him kind of solidify that spot in the rotation until Arrighetti gets back. But a tough blow for Arrighetti, a guy that was so confident coming into the season. Kind of we talked about, he added the two-seamer, pitched well in his first start, did not pitch as well in his second start against Minnesota. But again, this was a guy just from a bulk situation, threw 150 innings for them last year. That's a lot to lose for however long you're going to lose them. So you don't want to put a time. The only timeline the Astros have put on it is he'll be in a cast for 2.5 weeks. And then after that, obviously he's going to have to start playing catch again and re-up and revamp. So I would imagine after he gets the cast off, you're probably looking at around another month. So my conservative timeline is probably about 6 to 7 weeks for Arrighetti. So
I agree. And you going back to the bullpen comment, like this game is so high velocity driven anyway, from your starters to bullpen. So you got to imagine being a hitter, if you're coming in from like, the first team that pops up is like the White Sox. The White Sox always have guys that throw 100 billion miles an hour out of their bullpen. So you imagine like playing against those guys, and then you come into Houston, you're like, oh gosh, these guys this feels like 85 miles an hour fastball. You're almost like sitting in the batter's box just digging in for one. So you got to imagine as a hitter, they probably got to be pretty happy with low velo.
Speaking of the bullpen, there is one less member of the Astros bullpen that we're going to talk about, and we will talk about his departure to the Atlanta Braves right after another message from our friends at Foul Territory.
FT fam, if you love ripping packs of cards, there is a modern way to do that now on Arena Club with their slab packs and crats. I know you love ripping slab packs and getting that sweet card that you've always been looking for.
Yeah, and you don't have to go through all the other ones, all the Kratz cards that are in there. Bang, you just get the big one, the one that you're just peeking right around the corner when you open that pack, the one you expect to get.
Also, Arena Club will make you an instant offer for your card based on its market value. You'll get an instant offer of 90% of the estimated value, so you can accept it on the spot, simple, fast, and risk-free. Use that cash to buy more slab packs, and you can get your cards officially graded by Arena Club. So go check it out right now, FT fam. You can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul and then use the code FOUL. That's arenaclub.com/FOUL, code FOUL for 20% off your first purchase. Get after it, FT fam.
Kratz is such a beauty.
Love
that guy.
Speaking of cards, my dad is a tour guide at Daikin, and the other day Terry Poole was there with, I think his granddaughter was on a school tour. So my dad gave a tour and he brought me back an autographed card. So I was pretty pumped about that.
Astros Hall of Famer, Terry Poole. Mm-hmm. Good for him. Someone that probably will not go into the Astros Hall of Fame is Rafael Montero.
No.
Although he's probably been paid enough that he could probably purchase his spot if he'd like. Rafael Montero's Astros tenure is over. Dana Brown tried like hell to end it last trade deadline. He tried all winter, and he finally found a taker for the last year of Montero's bloated contract, trading him to the Atlanta Braves prior to Tuesday's game against the Mariners. You have to view this for what it is. They needed to get that contract as much as they could of it off the books. Rafael Montero was not going to pitch leverage innings for this team. You saw it, I bring it up all the time. The first series against the Mets had an aggregate score of 6-5 in the 3 games. The only 2 relievers that did not pitch in that series were Ryan Gusto, who was the long man, and Rafael Montero. He was on the outside looking in. They needed a roster spot. They needed a more usable, flexible bullpen. And, quite frankly, this is a team that is not trying to pay the luxury tax again. Jim Crane didn't really answer a question on opening day when asked if he had given an edict to get under the luxury tax, only saying that, we don't focus on that. But everything you hear from people around the team, from sources, is that they are inclined to not pay it again. And it sounds like they're covering about $7.5 million of Montero's $11.5 million contract. So any little bit helps to get further under the CBT so they can, make some moves at the deadline if they're still in contention. If they can need some in-season acquisitions, they've got now that little flexibility to do that. But this was a salary dump, just like the Ryan Presley trade was a salary dump. A little bit odd to see a team that is right in its contention window having two salary dump trades within, 3 months of each other. But Josh, that's kind of the way they're going now, and it's their prerogative, but it's an odd thing to see, especially.
Yeah, and they should probably feel pretty good that they only had to pay that much.
Yeah,
they probably should have paid more, considering it's just one of those deals in baseball that didn't work out for the team, and that's just sometimes that happens. That's sports, and it can be frustrating as a fan base to watch that. But this is exactly right. You got to get rid of some money to open up other options when things aren't working out. So for them to be able to kind of dump that out of there and get Presley off the books, like you talked about, it's something that needed to happen. And I agree. It's something that, they're in a window of winning, and, hopefully they can pull off something magical here to figure it out. But, this is just a baby step moving forward for this team to one, adapt to how the league's working right now. And two, to kind of find another way to incorporate some money to make the team better, because like I said, it was just one of those things where Montero just couldn't get the job done in the Houston Astros uniform.
Yeah, and he was going to get DFA'd in a week anyway when they needed to bring back up, other people to the bullpen. So it was coming. But yeah, like you said, I'm surprised that they were able to get $4 million off the books. But best of luck.
Yeah, Tyler, you bring up a good point too, because I think, Josh, we may have talked about this on a prior pod. Like, this bullpen does not have a lot of optionable relievers. Brian King has options. He is like their third best.
He's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere. Ryan Gusto has options. As we just discussed, he is not going anywhere.
Anywhere.
To be honest, I think Ryan Gusto pitched so well in the couple relief outings that they saw from him that they were like, well, he's probably a better option than Rafael Montero at this point. Just he gives you more value. So there may be a world where, look, I think they have been trying to trade Montero for a long time. I don't think Ryan Gusto's 3 outings like reinvigorated them to trade Montero, but I think, certainly Ryan Gusto showed them enough to be like, this dude could probably stick around. Like we shouldn't just option him because it's the easiest move to do. And then Luis Contreras is the other guy in the bullpen that has options, as does Logan Van Wy. But again, you're going to need optionable, flexible relievers. And you may be onto something there, Tyler, that Gusto pitched so well, and they've seen good contributions from other guys that, Montero may have been on the chopping block no matter what. But so good on Dana Brown for getting something out of this. They're going to get a player to be named later. Again, it's probably not going to be anyone that's going to stop the presses, but it's a guy, it's a body. It can help. You never know.
Could be your arm for 2 weeks that you need. And, unfortunately that's the way it works. Could get you I don't want to say dispose of them, but, kind of get your use out of them, and then hopefully it clears waivers.
Yeah, and look, let's also, like, I know there's a lot of people that want to pile on Rafael Montero, and I sort of did a little bit earlier, but let's remember in 2022, like, he was one of this team's best relievers on a World Series team. Had a 1.61 ERA plus, had a 2.37 ERA, pitched in the combined no-hitter in the World Series. I believe he appeared in 5 of the 6 games against the Phillies in that World Series, and I only allowed a run. He was a really good reliever in 2022, and I think for that he should be recognized, because when you're the second or third best reliever on a World Series team, that's something that you can't slouch at. And good on him and his agent for using that, for leveraging that to get him a very good contract from his point of view. I mean, he got a $34.5 million contract basically off of 1 season. So he and Jose Abreu obviously were the biggest targets and the biggest punching bags to look at in the last couple of years, just given how the trajectory of this thing has gone. But I think it's worth, tipping a cap to Montero for being, a really, really good reliever on a team that won the World Series.
Without a doubt. I mean, when you look back at this team's World Series championships, you can talk about, everybody talks about Springer and how good he was in 17, but there's so much more that goes to winning that than just looking at the box score and the highlights. So relievers don't really get that kind of love in big games like that or in the sport as much as they should. But when you look at guys like that, when they step in and get the job done, and they definitely deserve the credit.
Marwin Gonzalez, big part of the
Marwin.
2017.
Second biggest, probably the second biggest homer in franchise history.
I still think it's the biggest.
Honestly, biggest?
Every time I watch that, I don't think it's going to get out. I don't understand how it got out, but I'll take it.
Maybe this is a show for another day, but to me, I think that's the biggest home run in franchise.
I
know Altuve hit one to win.
We could cover all 7 games in 2 podcasts.
I know Altuve hit a homer to win a pennant. I know Jordan took Jose Alvarado to deep center to go ahead in a World Series game, but like Josh, I don't know if you guys win that World Series in 17 without Marwin taking Kenley Jansen deep.
Nope.
Oh, definitely not. We don't even get there. But then you look at Game 5, like Yuli, Altuve. Like Altuve hit a 430-foot foul homer and then hit a 440 feet fair the next pitch. Like stuff like that just doesn't happen, man. Like when you magnify Game 5, it's just so ridiculous because
Springer's ball exploded on the train tracks.
The
fireworks went off right where it landed. Yeah.
Springer broke glass. Like there's so many moments, but man.
All right. So before we get out of here, we have to fulfill our contractual obligation. Cam Smith got his first extra base hit as a big leaguer on Tuesday in Seattle, turning on a hanging sweeper, hit a triple down the third base line. Man, he can really run.
Made a great defensive play, I believe, too. Did he not? Like
first play
5% catch probability or a five-star catch?
Yeah, first play of the game on behind Hunter Brown. No, that was behind Fromber. First play of the game on Tuesday. Ran in, made a nice catch at his shoestrings on a line. It was nice. Had 2 more singles in the final game in Seattle, but it's looking a little better. The at-bats look better.
It's slowly moving forward. We're not in a big jump where you're seeing the thunder off the bat just quite yet. But when you talk about that triple, man, I was watching it at dinner and I saw him run, or I wasn't dinner, whatever it was I was eating. And I saw him around second base, like he's going to get hosed. And all of a sudden the ball was like just
he's fast.
Just as a cutoff guy, I was like, all right, kid. That was the first time I'd really seen him having a chance to open it up.
He also looks surprisingly good in the outfield.
You missed that conversation when your headphones were off, Tyler.
Well, no. I had to put my chain on for the Cam Smith discussion.
Okay. Yeah, we were talking about his 5-star catch.
I heard that. It was great.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they would like him to hit the ball in the air a little more. Hitting the ball on the ground on that triple. They'd like to see more line drives. Joe Espada said this week that they noticed he was farther off the plate in Minnesota than he ever was in spring training. So that's why he sat him on Sunday and Monday so they could work in the cage with him to get closer to the plate. They need him to get started in his load needs to start earlier. They want to get him in his legs a little bit more to elevate the ball. And you saw in the final game against the Mariners, like he hit a couple balls on a line to center field, had another opposite field hit. But Josh, does the opposite field contact worry you a little bit? Because to me, like that always signals that a guy's late when they're hitting the ball the other way.
No, not at all. I think opposite field, like when you're lining the ball the other way, that just tells me that I'm staying short and through the ball. And I could be a little opposite field conscious about it. But maybe he's got his approach to go that way against everything and just to help him stay short and through the baseball to figure out through these steps of getting there. Because when you talk about moving away from the batter's box, that becomes, it feels like it looks like an inch, but it feels like a mile when you're looking at, that slider away and fastballs away seem like they might be off the plate and they're right there on the corner. So, that changes everything when you're talking about that. So hopefully that's something that they figured out. And maybe you need to go back and watch a little Dig Me sesh, man. There's nothing wrong with going back and watching a little highlight reel of yourself and, and seeing what the differences are now and then. That's how you fix everything. That's just one of the things that, hitters and pitchers can take advantage of, is having so much video, and every angle in America now can watch everything. So there's always options to go back and just look at that and see what you're doing, because they can put everything side by side. They can look at your bad swings now and they can look at your good swings from 2 weeks ago. So figure out what's going on.
Baseball Savant now, that's what I was pulling up. I was seeing
when I played, it was called the BAT system. That's for us older generation players. And you could I think it's called superimpose. Is that what they call them when they overlap them?
Yeah.
Hey, look at me, superimpose junior college education. So then you can literally see the differences in everything in real time. So, and you slow it down, and There's tools that they can fix that. He's just got to apply those from the computer to the batting cage to the game.
Tyler, do you have anything to add as the president as the conductor of the Cam Smith hype train?
Listen, he was playing D2 pitchers last year, so we're going to give him a little bit of time.
How many at bats does he have?
There.
30, 35?
30? Yeah, something like that.
We're not at the 50 mark. We said 50. 50 was the number.
He's at 20. He's at 25. So he's halfway there. He's halfway to 50.
Is that at bats or plate?
Already got a triple.
No, it's 25 at bats. He's at 25 at bats.
Gotcha.
So there you go. And look, he's not been the worst hitter on the team, which isn't good, but he hasn't been the worst hitter.
This is also true. He's also not playing every day. That is probably the first time in his life.
Yeah.
So that's a tough task to go up and down like that, and
as we talked about too, he's failing probably for the first time in his life too.
Correct.
And that's something that he's had to find a way to compartmentalize and do stuff with. And I'm sure he said Mauricio Dubon's been helpful, Christian Walker, Jose Altuve. He said he's got veterans in the clubhouse that he's able to talk to as sounding boards that are helping him through this, which is, again, they expected this. Like, the Astros did not expect him to be on a Yordan. Like, the minute he steps on the field, he's the best hitter on the team. Like, they expected some growing pains. They expected the struggles. They thought they had the infrastructure around him to support him. And they're seeing that. They're seeing that bear out now, that the struggles are here, and he's got the support system around him in the clubhouse and the coaches that are helping him through it. And,
maybe he just hasn't found his outlet yet. You got to find that outlet that we talked about.
I wonder if he rubbed baby oil on himself.
Whatever.
I got to ask him that.
You need to ask him that.
That's
very important information that our fans need to know.
Yeah, we need to figure that out. But yeah, I'll still go to the zoo if we need to do that. I'm happy to help out.
Well,
somebody's got to put something up.
Well, if you guys go to the zoo, we'll discuss that on our next, because they come back for a very quick homestand.
Penguins, the Penguins are right by the entrance.
Oh, it's right there.
That's
Take
where
a
you
right.
go first.
You're right there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see it. We'll hop out. Maybe ride the train, the Memorial Cam Smith hype train.
We're riding the train. We got 5.5-year-old twins. We're riding the train.
When I was a kid, I thought if I sat in the back of the train, it made the train ride longer. So I would always wait to sit in the back to get more out of the train ride.
I got 2 more seconds of ride on this thing. I'm earning it.
Well, Tyler, if you go to the zoo with Cam Smith, we will discuss that on the next episode of Crush City Territory, which is coming to you this weekend during the Astros' quick 3-game series against the Los Angeles Angels, a team that on paper should be an opportunity for the Astros to get right a little bit, but some guy named Kyron Paris is hitting the ball out of the ballpark every time he takes an at bat. Mike Trout still plays for the Angels. He's actually going to play in this series, which has been a departure from his past couple of years. Anthony Rendon will not be playing in this.
I do have to bring up, I'm doing my first coverage of the team in the Cardinals series, and I will say that my first time I covered the team last year was like early May. It was the turnaround for the season. So
there we go.
The boys start playing and start winning on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll know why.
It's Crush City Territory's Josh Reddick that is going to turn the Astros around. If you enjoy that, please rate and review us on Apple. Please give us a subscription on YouTube so you can know exactly when we're going to go live and when you can get an alert every time we post a new video. So again, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Enjoy the Angels series this weekend. Enjoy watching Josh on Space City Home Network. And
I'll see you in the food room.
You will see me in the food room. The New York Times will pick up your tab. I'll pick up your food. I'll pick up your meal one of these games against the Angels. So we will talk to you later, guys. See ya.
Bye.